November 2002. I'm obviously going through a phase. As you will see, this is going to be a weird video. I don't have a lot of information about these books. Every single book that I read in November of 2002 is a media tie-in in one way or another, and they're old, difficult to find, and difficult to find information on these books. So let's jump in. We'll see how this goes. And I started November, uh, carrying on from the previous month. The first book is X-Men, the Legacy Quest Trilogy, Book 2 by Steve Lyons. So, in the first book, Beast was trying to find a cure for the legacy virus, and as he tends to do, I believe injected himself. And so his blood is possibly the cure. Selene from the Hellfire Club is taken in prisoner. The X-Men have teamed up with Sebastian Shaw, also of the Hellfire Club, to try and get Beast back. In book 2 here, basically same stuff going on, but now time travel is involved. The X-Men are jumping around time, trying to stop the legacy virus maybe before it starts. Still trying to rescue Beast, I think. Because I really couldn't find much about it. But that's not much about X-Men Legacy Quest Trilogy Book 2 by Steve Lyons. I followed that up with X-Men The Legacy Quest Trilogy Book 3 by Steve Lyons. On this one, things get a little weird. Well, it's always weird when the X-Men are involved, but in this one, Magneto has created legacy bombs, and is if he releases them, the legacy virus will just kill off all the humans, and so the X-Men need to put a stop to Magneto's shenanigans. Magneto thinks mutants are superior, homo superior, and should run the world because they're better than plain old humans, homo sapiens. That's always the conflict, isn't it, between Professor X and Magneto? Professor X thinks everybody should live in harmony. Magneto thinks mutants are better. And he wants to kill off all the humans. The X-Men have to stop him. And that's all I could find about this book. Not long ago, I think Titan Books was reprinting a bunch of these trilogies, but this is not one that got reprinted, so I don't have it anymore. I followed that up with the first in a long series, 7 books. With one exception, read them all in a row. Not all of them in November, so there's going to be carryover into December. Again, could not find a lot of information about these books. The first few I found on Amazon, and then after that, the search got weird and I couldn't find them. Possibly if I would have dug much, much deeper, maybe I would have found them. I don't know. We'll see. But the third book that I read in November of 2002 is Tribe Novels, Shadow Lords and Get of Fenris by Gerbod Fleming and Eric Griffin. This is the first in, as I said, a 7-book series. It's from White Wolf Publishing, World of Darkness. It's a series based on Werewolf, the Apocalypse. Each of the 7 books has 2 stories. Each story features one of the tribes of werewolves, or Garou. Each one is written by a different person, but it's going to tell an overarching story of basically the werewolves fighting the worm, which is the bad guy in the whole werewolf mythos. And the worm is just sort of this toxic enemy, toxic to the earth. The werewolves, the Garou, are very much tied to nature, and the worm is destroying nature. Um, and I've explained all this before. If you've seen some of the earlier videos where I've talked about World of Darkness stuff, Werewolf was a role playing game. And so you had to, when you made your character, you had to choose a tribe that your character was from. So each tribe has very specific characteristics. But without digging super deeply, which I don't do when I make these videos, I couldn't find like the specifics of each tribe. Um, but the first book, Shadow Lords, written by Gerbod Fleming, Get to Fenris, written by Eric Griffin, introduces us to the world of the Garou and two of the tribes. So we're going to learn what each of these tribes is about. But in the second story, there's a group meeting, essentially, of all the werewolves called to set up a final battle, hopefully, a final battle against the worm. So this introduces us to two of the tribes and sets up what the overarching story is going to be. And there's infighting between the tribes too, so it's not just going to be fighting the worm, but tribal politics and things. The interruption came here when I read The Forensic Science of CSI by Catherine Ramsland. This is a nonfiction book, and I mean, it is what it says on the tin. This, of course, inspired by the TV show CSI. There's a little thing on the bottom of the front cover that says, this book was not approved of or sanctioned by whatever the TV show CSI or anyone involved in that. But basically, it's just about crime scene investigative techniques, the things the CSIs do, fingerprints, DNA, blood splatter, crime scene photography, all of that. And it touches on true crime cases. It might, when they're talking about fingerprints, they might talk about, fingerprints were the thing that put this person away. Very interesting to me. I like this kind of thing. And my first year and a half or so, 2 years at Lorain County Community College, I was a police sciences major. So I took classes on this stuff. So a lot of this stuff, some of this stuff, I knew from the classes. I took a class on fingerprinting, how to dust for fingerprints, preserve fingerprints at a crime scene, how to take a suspect's fingerprints, how to read and analyze and compare fingerprints. And this was back in '85, so we didn't have a computer to make these comparisons. Took a class on crime scene photography and making a cast or a mold of like a shoe print or a tire track, things like that. Don't remember. I don't think we had any DNA stuff, not that I recall. But basically, this book covers all of that. It even in the introduction, early on in the book, like everything that a crime scene technician would carry in their kit. It says basically it's like a tackle box, a fisherman's tackle box, but you're going to have all these things in it. Again, I found this very interesting stuff. The Forensics of CSI. The Forensic Science, of CSI by Catherine Ramsland. And then we're going to jump right back into the Tribe novels. So the next book was Tribe novels Silent Striders and Black Furies by Carl Bowen, Gerbod Fleming. And I think in this one, maybe, there's a thing in the world of werewolf called the Umbra, which is sort of the shadow world. So you have, the world that we know, the physical world, and then the shadow world, the dark side of the world. And werewolves can go there. And so you have one group of werewolves who are going to the Umbra to try to find the worm or fight the worm, and then you have this other tribe of werewolves that are in the physical world going after the worm. And I think it said the worm, like this particular center of worm activity was in the Ukraine, but it's got fingers everywhere. So the tribe novel, Silent Striders and Black Furies, Carl Bowen, Gerbod Fleming. And again, it's going to tell you more about those two particular tribes. After that, tribe novels Red Talons and Fianna by Philip Bohl and Eric Griffin. And when I looked this up on Amazon, the description for it was clearly for a completely different book. So I have no information about this one. And I don't remember too much about the Red Talons or the Fianna, the characteristics that make them up. But lots of great werewolf action. And I will say the covers for these books are absolutely fantastic. Just beautiful, sometimes gory werewolf artwork. Just absolutely fantastic. But we'll move on. The penultimate book in November of 2002 was Tribe Novels, Bone Gnawers, G-N-A-W-E-R-S, Bone Gnawers and Stargazers, by Bill Bridges and Justin Akile, or Akile, and Bill Bridges. The way it's written that way is because Bill Bridges and Justin, however you say his last name, Akile, it's like Achilles' heel, Achille. They wrote the Bone Gnawers story together, and then Bill Bridges wrote the Stargazer story by himself. Again, just introducing us to these werewolf tribes, letting us know what they do, how they fit into everything, their characteristics, and continuing the fight against the worm. And then the last book that I read in November of 2002, and the fifth book in the Tribe Novel series, Tribe Novels Children of Gaia and Octena by Richard Lee Byers and Stephen Petruka. And again, just introducing us to these tribes, what they're all about, how they go about fighting the worm, and again, internal werewolf conflicts, guru conflicts. But really difficult to find information without spending way too much time on it. After the first few books, couldn't even find them on Amazon with a simple search, and then Googling, I found a thing on the White Wolf Wiki that just gave an overview of the books and basically said what I've been saying. It's the werewolves and their tribes, and they're fighting the worm. So there may be, if I had, again, spent far too much time, in my opinion, I may have dug into this deeper and found something. But just werewolf books, different tribes, different characteristics of the werewolves, and they're fighting to preserve their way of life and the earth itself. So the final novel, Tribe, that I read in November of 2001, Tribe Novels, Children of Gaia, and Octena, Richard Lee Byers and Stephen Petruka. Spoilers for next week. First two books are going to be the last two books of this series. But then we're going to start getting into some different things. There's still going to be media tie-ins, but there's at least a couple of things that aren't. I'm going to cheat and flip ahead. We're getting close to the end of my notebook here. This goes through 2004, so there's only 2 more years in this particular notebook, and then we're going to switch to the spiral bound. But let's turn the page, and right off the bat, I can see in January of 2003, for those of you who have stuck it out through all these media tie-ins, January of 2003 does have some media tie-ins, but a lot of stuff that is not. And, well, relatively speaking, stuff that is not. And some really good stuff, in my opinion, coming up. I see more World of Darkness stuff, but I also see all sorts of, I think, interesting things. We're going to slowly move away from all of these media tie-ins. Not completely, but we're going to get into some wild stuff. So hopefully you'll find something of interest to you in the coming videos. That's it. I don't even have a question. Um, did you ever watch the CSI TV show? Uh, were you a fan of it? I didn't start watching it right from the beginning. I don't recall. I did start in season one. Don't recall what it was that got me to watch it, and then I ended up watching it for a while. Um, I was interested, as I said, in the crime scene types of stuff. Although, from what I hear, the show, played with the rules a bit. Um, and then I watched CSI Miami, even though I'm not a David Caruso fan. Never watched, I think, maybe one episode of CSI New York. Never got into that one. I watched the first episode of CSI Cyber, I think it was called. And then didn't CSI come back relatively recently with, they called it CSI Vegas or something, even though that's where the original took place. And it was just CSI, Crime Scene Investigation. Did you watch it? Were you a fan? Was there a particular uh, show that you enjoyed more than the others? Like, were you a CSI New York kind of person, or CSI Cyber, which didn't last long, or is that just not something that interests you? That's all I got. Considering what I read in November of 2002, that's the question I came up with. Let me know in the comments below if you have any comments, questions, or corrections. Please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. And if you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is at Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. And if you're on Blue Sky, I am at EL Smith. That is all that I have for you today. So until next time, read more books.